Joining me in this discussion are His Excellency the Ambassador of France to India, Mr. Jérôme Fournafan, and Ankur Lal, who is CEO with Infozech Software. Thanks very much for being with us. I'd like to begin with you, sir, to ask you about France has been very active in the last few years in inviting investment from India. What are the special benefits that the country is offering to India?
Well, in very broad terms, first of all, the French economy is a dynamic economy inside Europe. It is at the center of Europe. It is one of the leading states in building Europe, and it is very actively involved through the government effort and the president's effort in reform. Reform in order to adjust permanently to the challenges of globalization, while of course remaining our distinct national identity. And therefore, being a well-organized state and country with excellent infrastructure, with a leading role in building and consolidating the euro, the European governance, etc., etc., we offer many opportunities to foreign investors. And as a matter of fact, France is, depending on the years, number 2 or number 3 in the world for welcoming foreign investments, foreign direct investments, industrial or services investment, and this through the fact that other big companies or small companies from abroad know that they will find in France a good production base, a good market, and a good place to start operations either to Europe or to French-speaking countries or to elsewhere in the world.
I want to bring in Ankur over here. Ankur, France is a country which is offering a lot gateway to Europe. Traditionally, what has been the outlook of Indian industry towards France in terms of business relations?
So the Indian companies to France have not been as forthcoming as they have been to some other parts of the world. India has actually gone out to global countries over the last few years. But the point is, I think there are a lot of misconceptions about France right now. France offers a tremendous base. There are a lot of advantages of doing business in France. For instance, just to give you one point, it has a lot of very brilliant engineers, technology. It excels in high technology. And I've seen a few of the IT companies start doing business in France just because of the IT need and just getting high-tech business. So I see there's a lot of potential which needs to be explored by Indian companies over the next few years, specifically relating to France as a gateway to business.
What is the biggest barrier you see when you say that Indian companies have not been looking very strongly at France? What is the biggest barrier you see today?
Okay, so just to speak in terms of the IT need, when you look at the IT business in India has been a people's business. And it has basically been the movement of people. Back and forth has been one of the challenges to doing business well overseas. And now this applies to all the countries we do business in. Looking at France specifically, it would take slightly longer to get the people across. So a project manager or a company doing business needs to keep in 90 days of a visa time when they plan for a project. So these things have also started improving, and I'm told these things have come in, but I think that perception hasn't changed.
So is that a feedback you got from other companies also?
I think what Mr. Lal is saying, that perceptions have not yet changed in comparison with policies which have been reformed, is very true. As a matter of fact, in the last 3 years, we have completely revamped the visa system in order to make it easy for investors to go and settle in France if they want, and for young or not young but qualified professionals to settle in France if they want to settle in France. But this regime takes time to be advertised, and as a matter of fact, one of the big efforts of our consular network here in India is to try to make it well known to the Indian businessmen that if they want to invest in France or if they want to send a skilled labor to France for a period of time, there are possibilities which have been very, very much improved.
Now, what are the other key changes you have done in terms of policy?
We have made, I would say, 3 big reforms. First is to simplify all the administrative procedures. This is true for foreign business, it is true for French business as well. Try to simplify bureaucratic access. That is very important. And I am told that the number of days required from the time you want to register a company to the time of registration is the shortest in Europe. Number two, which is also very important, is to provide the company, especially in a field like you are talking about, IT, a very, very attractive product, if I may say, in terms of R&D. And what we have done is a reform, tax reform, by which you can deduct from the tax you pay a very substantial, a very significant amount of your research and development spending, up to 50% for the first year, and then going down to 30%. And number three, which is also quite important, I think, is the creation in France of what we call competitive clusters. There are approximately 70 of them all around France, where you can have a combination of universities, research laboratories, companies, public entities, working together thematically in order to create synergies in a specific area.
Ankur, does this appear attractive to you?
I think looking at the changes which have happened, they've definitely happened, and I think that's a good welcome change. The challenge which I still see is that the changes have to percolate down to actual business. And that's where I feel the Indians have to learn a little bit more in terms of culture adaptation, in terms of doing business. For instance, my fellow colleagues are not used to, going about for 6 months, going about with a customer prospecting and then looking at signing a deal. They're used to doing deals in 3 months, 4 months, and the sales cycle is probably much longer and in France than it is elsewhere.
ये मेरा बिस्तर है।
कौन है वो?
तुम्हारा भाई।
मेरा भाई?
सौतेला भाई, जिसे मैं जानता भी नहीं।
ये मेरा अलमारी है।
सुन छछुंदर, जब तू पेड़ पर लटका भी नहीं था ना, तब से ये अलमारी मेरा है। अबे, तेरा बस ठेंगा।
How will the market happen to my investments? You have the questions. We get you the answers from the top management of Nifty's 50 companies. Mail your queries on earnings@Bloomberg-UTV.com. Know it first on the India Earnings League, only on Bloomberg-UTV. All it takes is 20 minutes before the market opens. All it takes is 20 stocks to power your trading day. All it takes is 20 strategies to help you make money. Get 20 stocks, 20 strategies in 20 minutes from India's leading experts. Top picks, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. only on Bloomberg-UTV.
And with the new acquisition being PE accretive, whatever visibility you see on the top line growth and the bottom line growth shifts automatically into price.
Which actually means we're wondering whether the company can continue to grow so fast and how much will it give back to its investors.
The question is, were there to be a realistic assessment of real estate as an asset class, will the current price momentum hold?
In simple words, how much money could one make by investing in property right now?
Most importantly, the derivative markets indicate that the open interest rollover for the near-month series in the Nifty is the highest at 5100 and therefore it's theta depleted and low on vega.
That's really simple. Most traders are predicting that Nifty will cross 5100 next month. So stay invested and have a good night's sleep.
Is there something which can be done to help companies which I think Invest in France agency is also looking at bringing partnerships?
what Mr. Lal is saying about France is what I say to the French businessmen about India. That you just don't come, plug your business, do your cash and go away. No, 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 no. You have to settle. And we are old cultures. We are old societies and civilizations. We are used to taking the time of knowing each other. And the human relationship makes it stronger afterwards. Because in France, the culture is you come, you settle, and slowly, progressively, your business is going to blossom. And it's the same in India. French companies do not come very quickly. They come, they settle, and slowly, slowly it blossoms. And I think this idea that we have to take the time of acculturation, getting used to the culture of the other, is quite a positive one. Because we are in a time when we are talking about investment. And you don't talk about investment if you don't talk about time. Certainly, it takes a little bit time in the beginning, but then the result is that you know where you go and you know what is your prospect.
What about something like funding in terms of raising resources in other countries? Your business, for instance, spans North America, Middle East and Africa. Now, in Europe, for instance, I mean, what are the challenges you face in raising funds in these countries when you do business?
Yes, so I think raising funds is definitely a big challenge, and I think, again, entities like Invest in France and some of these agencies can potentially help us raise local funds and set up local presence. But raising funds at the day one is definitely a big challenge when we go into a new territory. The more important part than raising the funds is knowing the local culture and how it works. And that takes a lot of time. We need the local people. We need the ability to hire those local people. One of the challenges Indian companies are struggling with is to hire or not to hire local people, because they still haven't figured out the comfort level there. And I think that's a very, very important step which needs to happen, if we are going to get to the next level.
So funding, is there something which the government can do to help raise funds for foreign investors?
I will tell you, the key is to understand that our system is non-discriminatory, which means that an investor is going to have the same facilities whether it's national or not national. And it means that all the fiscal facilities that we are giving to a newly coming investor are the same, whether you are French, Indian, Dutch, German, or whatever. And therefore you need the advice of somebody who knows our system well, so that you can have all these incentives which the state, the regions, are able to give to you. Second, there is a question of freedom of movement of capitals. There, we are in Europe. Europe is a big unified market, and you have freedom of circulation completely. Then there is a question of repatriation of benefits, and here also it's an open system. France is part of the European market, and we apply the same rules as all our European partners, which means that it's easy to come and go.
What, as a competitive situation, what is France offering which Germany does not, for instance, or which Spain is not? Or UK, of course, has attracted a lot of investment from India, but what can France say that it has which other European countries don't?
Well, I cannot answer the question that way. I will answer per se. France is the 5th largest world economy, and as such, it is an economy